The night before the wedding, Nkiru knelt on the cold floor and begged the man she loved to run. Not tomorrow, not at dawn, now. Her knees burned against the hard clay floor, but she did not feel the pain. Her fingers dug into the hem of Obina's wrapper, as if holding on to him was the only thing keeping her alive. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was thin, broken, almost swallowed by the silence of the room. "Before morning comes, leave this house." The oil lamp on the wooden table flickered, throwing long shadows on the mud walls. The flame bent and straightened again, as if it too was unsure whether to stay alive. Obina looked down at her. He was breathing normally. That alone terrified her. This was the moment it always happened. The moment every man reached and never crossed. The moment when something unseen crept into their chest, tightened their hearts, and filled them with fear they could not name. This was when they pulled away. This was when they ran. But Obina did not step back. He did not tremble. His eyes did not dart around the room. He only looked at her with quiet confusion and concern. "Nkiru, why are you talking like this?" Her chest tightened. If he was not afraid yet, then whatever followed her had not revealed itself. And that meant it was waiting. She released his wrapper and covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook as the tears finally broke free. "I have seen this moment too many times," she said between sobs. "Men reach this place, this night, and something chases them away. They don't know why. They just know they must leave. Please, Obina, don't wait for it." He knelt in front of her slowly, carefully, as if afraid she might shatter if he moved too fast. He held her wrists gently and pulled her hands away from her face. "What chases them?" he asked. She opened her mouth. No words came out. Because how do you explain something that has no face, no name, no shape? How do you describe fear that arrives without warning and leaves no footprints? She shook her head. "I don't know," she whispered. "I only know what it does." Silence filled the room again, thick and heavy. Outside, the village slept. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, then went quiet. Obina studied her face for a long time. This was the longest any man had ever stayed at this point, and Nkiru felt something rise inside her that frightened her more than any curse: hope. In Umuora village, beauty was common enough that people barely noticed it anymore. Girls grew up with smooth skin and bright eyes. Women walked through the market with easy grace, babies tied securely to their backs, laughter spilling freely from their lips. But Nkiru's beauty was not like that. It did not announce itself. It crept. When she walked through the market as a teenager, conversations slowed without anyone deciding to slow them. Words lost their rhythm. Laughter faded into awkward smiles. Men found themselves watching her without realizing they had turned their heads. Women felt a strange tightness in their chest, not jealousy exactly, but discomfort. Children stared openly, their curiosity untouched by shame. Her skin carried a quiet glow, not the shine of oil or sweat, but something softer, like morning light resting gently on the earth. Her eyes were calm, too calm, as if they had already seen things they did not wish to remember. Her smile was never proud, never teasing. It appeared briefly and disappeared just as quietly. She did not move like someone who knew she was beautiful, and that unsettled people. By the time she turned 23, men began to speak her name in lowered voices. By 18, they came openly. The first man was named Chike. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and full of himself. He laughed loudly, slapped backs, and spoke as if the world owed him attention. When he proposed to Nkiru, he did it publicly, standing before her parents and the elders, as if daring anyone to object. He brought gifts, yams, palm wine, bolts of cloth. He spoke of the house he would build, the children they would have, the respect she would command as his wife. The village buzzed with excitement. Finally, they said, the beautiful girl would take her place like everyone else. Nkiru tried to feel joy. She really did. She told herself that perhaps this time would be different. Perhaps the fear would not come. But on the third night after his proposal, Chike woke suddenly from sleep. His heart was racing so fast it hurt. His chest felt tight, as though someone had pressed a heavy stone against it. He sat up, drenched in sweat, listening to the quiet of the night. Nothing was wrong. No sound, no shadow. And yet the fear grew. It crawled under his skin, whispered into his thoughts, told him he was not safe, that something was wrong, that staying was dangerous. By morning, he had packed his belongings. His family said he had traveled for work. He never returned. People laughed it off at first. They said he was not serious, that he had simply lost courage. They said a man like that was not worthy anyway. Nkiru did not laugh. She had felt the shift before he left. She had seen it in his eyes the last time they spoke. The way his gaze slid away from her, the way his voice trembled without reason. She knew the pattern. Another man came months later, then another. One paid half the bride price. The elders counted it carefully, nodded their approval, and set a date to complete the process. That night, the man lay awake staring at the ceiling. His thoughts raced. His chest felt wrong. The room felt too small, too tight. He left before sunrise. Another man swore love so passionately it embarrassed Nkiru. He promised never to abandon her, never to be afraid. 2 weeks later, he woke shaking and fled without saying goodbye. There were no fights, no accusations, no explanations. Men simply left. By the time Nkiru turned 23, laughter turned into whispers. The whispers turned into warnings. Too beautiful is dangerous. Beauty like that comes with something else. Some women are not meant to belong to one man. Nkiru heard everything. During the day, she helped her mother with chores, greeted neighbors politely, and smiled when spoken to. At night, she lay awake listening to the sounds of the village and cried silently into her mat, pressing her face down so no one would hear her shame. She wondered what she had done wrong. She wondered if she would always be alone. Mama Nkiru watched her daughter carefully. Mothers notice things others miss. The way laughter fades, the way shoulders slump, the way silence grows heavier over time. One night, after they had eaten and washed their hands, Mama Nkiru sat beside her daughter. "My child," she said gently, "what are you hiding from me?" Nkiru hesitated. The words rose to her throat and stuck there. She shook her head and forced a small smile. "Nothing, Mama." But Mama Nkiru knew better. She turned away so her daughter would not see the tears in her eyes, because she remembered the night Nkiru was born. The storm had been fierce, thunder cracking so loudly it shook the walls. The labor had been long and painful. When the baby finally came, there was no cry. The room had gone cold. Mama Nkiru had bled heavily, her strength draining away as panic filled the air. The elders rushed around, unsure what to do. Someone called for the old herbalist, a woman whose eyes seemed older than the village itself. The old woman had taken the baby gently, studying her face for a long time. This child will be desired by many, but possessed by none. Mama Nkiru had begged her to explain, to help, to change whatever fate had been spoken. The woman had only sighed. When men come too close, fear will chase them away. not because of her, but because of what follows her. No ritual was offered, no sacrifice demanded, only a warning. Mama Nkiru lived with that warning ever since. Years later, Obina arrived in Umuora quietly. He was not rich, he did not boast, he did not draw attention to himself. He came to help a distant relative and stayed. When he first saw Nkiru, he did not freeze, he did not stare, he did not whisper his name under his breath. He greeted her like a normal woman. That simple act sent a shiver through Nkiru. They spoke casually at first, exchanging polite words. Then longer conversations followed. They laughed together, real laughter that surprised Nkiru each time it escaped her. They began to walk together in the evenings, keeping a respectful distance.
Fear returned. When Obina told the elders he wished to marry Nkiru, silence fell over the gathering. Men exchanged looks. Women leaned toward one another, whispering behind their hands. Someone muttered, "He doesn't know." Mama Nkiru did not sleep again after that. The night before the wedding, Nkiru could no longer carry the secret alone. She told Obina everything, every man who had come before him, every sudden departure, every unexplained fear. Her voice broke as she spoke. Tears soaked his wrapper as she begged him to leave while he still could. She waited for the moment she knew so well. The change, the fear, the restlessness. But it did not come. Obina listened quietly, his face calm, his breathing steady. When she finished, he held her hands and said, "I will not run." For the first time in her life, Nkiru was afraid of hope. The wedding night came. The village waited. Some waited for screams, some waited for chaos, some waited for the familiar story to repeat itself. But the night passed quietly. Obina did not wake in fear. He did not feel chased. He did not run. Morning came. He was still there, alive, smiling, holding his wife. The elders gathered in disbelief. Confusion gave way to understanding. It was never beauty that drove men away. It was fear. Fear of what they could not explain. Fear of loving something without control. Fear passed from one man to another until it became truth. Nkiru became a wife not because she was beautiful, but because one man stayed long enough to understand her. And Umuora village learned too late that not everything that scares you is evil. Some things only scare you because they demand courage.